In this video, we're taking a closer look at the new wizard Paragon, the Magus Perfectus, and we're gonna try it out by itself on logs, first as a degree 1 and see how far it can get, and then see how much further the max degree 100 can get. This Paragon is pretty expensive. It has global range with the Dark Phoenix, and the wizard itself has a lot of range too, and it's not like the damage is bad either, and there's just so much versatility with having 2 abilities. There's just so much that you can micro with this one. 2 abilities instead of 1, toggling the graveyard mana refill on and off, and of course the normal targeting. I was expecting this one to make it pretty far if you choose to micro, but first, as we begin with the degree 1, I'm just gonna AFK and see how far we can get without touching anything at all. And as you see here, we lost very fast. On round 116 there are a lot of purple bloons that the wizard just can't handle if he is in recharge mode. Pretty funny to see a Paragon lose against purple bloons. But this does not mean that the Paragon is not good for laid-back gamers, since you will always have a lot of other towers together with the Paragon, and the more towers you got, the lesser the need to micro the wizard. But in this special case we do need to micro it to get anywhere. Since the Paragon has just released, there is a pretty good chance that there may be some bugs that were not caught, and so far I've seen a few things that I found a bit strange. Here in the beginning, you will see me surviving as long as I can, first without using any abilities. I'm just toggling the recharge on and off. And right now, I'm often charging up most of the graveyard before I go into attack mode again. But later you will see me take another approach. Because right now, the mana works in ways that many suspect was not intended. For example, if you go from recharge mode into attack mode, when there are a lot of bloons in the wizard's range, you can drain the entire 100k mana in like 1 second, without popping any bloons. There seems to be something causing the mana to drain very fast sometimes when there are a lot of bloons in the wizard's range. But there is also another bug that you can use to sort of counteract this. When the mana reaches very low numbers, like 20 to 40 mana points, it often starts to decrease a lot slower, so you can stay in attack mode for like 2 to 3 seconds while only having about 20 mana points. You can make use of this by constantly toggling back into attack mode almost instantly as the Paragon automatically goes into recharge mode. This way you can stay in attack mode almost all of the time and then only recharge when you're planning to use an ability. And the glitch that causes the mana to drain super fast can also happen when you're using the morph ability that makes the wizard super strong. The ability will drain something like 50k mana per second, so if you activate it when you have near 100k, you will have it up for a few seconds. But I think that the same mana drain thing can happen when there are a lot of bloons in the wizard's range. So you activate the ability and then it just instantly drains everything before you even have time to use the ability for a second. Or maybe I activated the ability half a second too late, after the wizard went into attack mode by itself and drained a lot of mana super quickly. I'm not sure. This instance I'm talking about was in another game, so I don't have the recording. But either way, there is some funny things going on with the graveyard mana. Now rounds are getting really tough for the degree 1, and on round 171 we're gonna call it and move over to the degree 100. I should also point out that this is on easy mode that we are doing this test, and of course past round 140 the rounds are RNG based except for round 200 and 263, so your results may vary. When we move over to the max degree, we beat round 171 without any issues. We didn't even need to use any abilities. Speaking of abilities, in my last video introducing the update, I mentioned that the morph ability had a super long cooldown. In that video we only had a degree 1 Perfectus. The cooldown becomes shorter with the degree, just like other Paragons, so having a max degree will help out a lot. You will also notice that the Dark Phoenix is a lot weaker now compared to the early access videos that you may have seen from other YouTubers. In those videos, the Phoenix would send out a lot more purple plasma balls, and the degree 100 could solo around 200 fortified bats with ease without using any abilities, and it was also affected by buffs such as Homeland. So that was not a finished build, and as mentioned, it looks like we still have some bugs, so I think we still have to wait a bit and let some things be cleared up before we can really say how strong it is or how far we can get with it. We are also yet to see this be used in bosses. Now, I'm not an expert on bosses, so I'm not really sure how good it's gonna be. But I bet Punji has already set his alarm clock for the next boss event, ready to put up some videos showcasing the morph ability, and I can't wait to see that. But surely it should be pretty decent, right? I mean, sure, it is an expensive Paragon, but the morph ability just does such high single target damage. And keep in mind that Paragons have extra bonus damage against bosses, so I mean, the ability must be crazy good, and I just can't wait to see it in action. Now, as we're passing round 200, we're starting to encounter a lot of fortified bads, which means that we're gonna have to use the morph ability a lot. In general, I save up some mana early in the round to use a Phoenix Explosion ability to deal with ZOMGs and below, and then I use the Phoenix to clean up anything that is left as well as get some damage on the bads, and then I recharge mana for a morph ability at the end to take out the fortified bads. That's the general idea and it works pretty well. Many people asked me in my last video if I'm going to redo the Magic Monkeys Only challenge now that we have another Magic Paragon, and yes, I will. On round 206 is where I called it quits. So the result I got was 171 for degree 1 and round 206 for degree 100. I didn't really make any predictions for how far I thought it would go, but let me know in the comments if it lived up to your predictions or not, and I'll see you in my next video.